I didn't think I'd cry in the elevator. That's the first thing I remember from that morning. My name is Natalie Pierce, and I'd spent the past 6 years at Stratuscore Media, building what I thought was an unshakable foundation for my career. I wasn't just showing up. I was delivering. Rescuing accounts on the brink of collapse. Designing frameworks that cut campaign cycles in half. Training entire teams from scratch. I stayed late. I never missed a deadline. I took the fall when others slipped, and today was supposed to be the payoff. I'd been called into a one-on-one with Miriam Langford, my manager, to discuss my next steps. Everyone knew the associate director promotion was in the works, and after everything I'd done, it felt like a formality. Tessa Morgan had only been with the company for 2 years. She wasn't known for results, but she had charm. Always loud in the break room, first to plan birthday cupcakes, quick with compliments in meetings. Management adored her energy, even if it rarely showed up in the actual work. Hell, even Tessa had winked at me in the hallway earlier that morning and said, "Today's your day, Nat." I smiled back, a little nervous, a little proud. I believed her. When I walked into Miriam's office, everything felt off. She was already seated, her tablet open, but screen turned away. Her expression was tight, not unkind, but guarded. "Morning, Natalie," she said, motioning for me to sit. "Thanks for coming in." I nodded, still hopeful. My heart was beating, like it wanted to sprint out the door, but I kept my posture calm. Then came the words I wasn't ready for. "We've decided to go with Tessa Morgan for the associate director role." Just like that, no build-up, no soft cushion, no explanation. Just, "We've decided." Like it had been obvious all along. I blinked. Once, twice. "Sorry," I said. "I thought this meeting was about—" "It is," Miriam cut in gently. "You were absolutely considered. You've done outstanding work. No one's questioning your value here, Natalie." "But?" I asked. She hesitated, shifted in her chair. "Tessa brings a certain energy. She rallies people. Her presence uplifts the room. Leadership isn't just about numbers." I wanted to scream. Not just about numbers. I had doubled our Midwest account portfolio. I had created the crisis response workflow that everyone used and no one acknowledged. I'd stayed silent when my credit was passed to someone else. Twice. And now I was being told that someone else's energy outweighed 6 years of results? I didn't say anything. I just stared at her for a moment too long. She shifted again. "You're incredibly valued here," she repeated, as if saying it a second time might turn the room right side up. I forced a smile. I don't remember what I said next. Something neutral, something polite. My legs took me out of the office before my brain even caught up. The elevator was quiet, cold. I stood alone, holding the stainless steel railing like it could keep me from collapsing. And that's when it happened. The tear. Just one. It slipped down without asking for permission, and I wiped it away before the doors even opened. Later that day, Tessa stopped by my desk. She wore the promotion like a designer handbag. Shiny, swinging, impossible to ignore. "You okay?" she asked, voice dripping with faux concern. "Of course," I said. "Congrats." She tilted her head. "Thanks. I was surprised. Honestly, I thought you had it in the bag." I almost laughed. That night I didn't sleep. Instead, I sat at my kitchen table, staring at my laptop, at a folder I hadn't opened in months. Linkwise, Phase 1. It was the name of a project I'd started secretly, a system optimization firm I dreamed of building one day, maybe 5 years from now. Maybe never. But that night, something changed. Because when a place that's supposed to see you doesn't, you start building one that will. It had been 4 days since the meeting with Miriam. I hadn't submitted my resignation yet, but it was already written, saved, printed, sealed. Sitting in my bag like a secret weapon waiting for release. I'd been replaying her words over and over. Tessa brings a certain energy. Her presence uplifts the room. Like my results had been invisible, like I had never mattered. At some point that night, I opened a blank doc on my laptop and typed a single line. 6 years. Let me remember what that actually meant. What spilled out surprised even me. I remembered my second year at Stratuscore, when the Kingston Telecom account had been 2 weeks away from cancellation. Their VP was furious about missed deliverables, unclear performance metrics, and a campaign that felt flat and generic. Everyone panicked. People hid behind their inboxes. I took the 9 p.m. call. Alone. That night I scrapped the entire campaign, rebuilt the timeline, and turned their messaging into a customer-first testimonial series. 2 weeks later, Kingston extended for another 18 months. Did Miriam mention that in my review? Nope. Then there was the Apex Firestorm, as we like to call it. 3 years ago, we had our first high-profile client data breach scare. Nothing actually leaked, but a misplaced report made its way to the wrong inbox. Again, panic, legal, PR, the whole C-suite spiraling. I spent 72 hours rewriting the internal workflow documentation, set up a real-time access tracker, and personally led a 10-hour risk mitigation workshop for every senior account lead. No credit, just an email from Miriam that said, "Thanks for stepping up." I also thought about the people. Out of the 11 department heads at Stratuscore right now, 6 had started as analysts under me. I'd trained them, coached them, advocated for their promotions, while mine were perpetually under consideration. And still, I kept my mouth shut. I didn't complain, I didn't document slights. I just kept building, quietly. But silence doesn't mean absence, and humility, I've learned, is only admirable when someone actually sees it. I once overheard Tessa telling someone at a happy hour, "Oh, Natalie? Yeah, she's sweet, but kind of serious. Doesn't really vibe with the team much." Sweet, serious. That's what years of loyalty looked like from the outside? I wasn't bitter, not yet, but something had shifted. It wasn't just that I'd been overlooked for the promotion. It was the realization that I had been conditioning myself to believe being overlooked was normal. That maybe, just maybe, if I kept my head down and my spreadsheets perfect, someone up top would finally look down and say, "That one, she deserves more." Spoiler alert, they didn't. So I stared at that line again on my screen. 6 years. Let me remember what that actually meant. It meant 5 product launches, 3 major client recoveries, 2 team restructures, 17 employee promotions I helped drive, 0 times anyone asked me how I felt about being passed over. That night, I added another folder to the project on my desktop. Linkwise, Legacy Deck. Because if they weren't going to acknowledge what I built, I'd take it with me. And this time, they'd feel it when it was gone. It was a Monday morning, exactly 1 week after the meeting. I'd chosen that day for a reason. I didn't want the news getting lost in weekend chatter or softened by Friday small talk. No. This needed to land cold, right at the start of the week, just like their decision had landed on me. I wore navy, no makeup, no jewelry, just clean lines, flat shoes, and focus. In my bag was an envelope. Inside, a typed, signed, dated resignation letter. 2 weeks' notice, no drama, just clarity, but the weight of it was thunderous. As I walked down the hall toward Miriam's office, my mind was loud. Not frantic, just aware. Aware of every moment that led to this one. The meetings where my ideas were attributed to someone louder. The late nights fixing decks that would bear someone else's name. The small nods. The fake smiles. The "we'll keep you in mind" pats on the back. I used to think staying quiet was strength. Now I know silence can be a kind of slow erasure. Miriam looked up as I knocked. "Morning, Natalie. Everything okay?" She smiled, relaxed, unbothered. I handed her the envelope. She took it, confused. Read the first line. Her face froze. "Wait, you're resigning?" I nodded. "Effective 2 weeks from today." She blinked. Her mouth opened, then shut. Then opened again. "Natalie, I wasn't expecting this. Is something wrong? Is this about the promotion?" I could have said 1,000 things. I could have unloaded years of quiet frustration, but I'd rehearsed this moment. "I've given a lot to Stratuscore," I said calmly. And I'm proud of what I've done here, but it's time I build something where I don't have to fight to be seen. She looked shaken, unsteady. You're incredibly valued here, she tried. I wish we'd had a longer conversation before you made this decision. I almost laughed. Now you want a longer conversation? Instead, I gave a soft smile. I'm happy to stay professional during the transition. I'll make sure my files and systems are properly documented. She swallowed. Of course! We'll talk more. When I stepped out of her office, I caught sight of Tessa by the coffee machine. She tilted her head. Everything okay? I looked her in the eye. I just gave my notice. There was a flicker of surprise, quickly buried. Oh, wow, that's sudden. No, I said. It's not sudden at all. I went back to my desk and opened my calendar. 10 working days. That's all I had left. But I wasn't just counting down. I was laying groundwork. That night, I didn't cry, I didn't doubt. I didn't wonder if I'd done the right thing. Instead, I opened my laptop and updated 3 files. My systems master doc, my resignation transition checklist, the pitch deck for Linkwise, Q3 expansion. Because while they were bracing for an exit, I was preparing for a launch. 2 days after I turned in my resignation, I got a text that made me pause. Still thinking about that coffee conversation we had a year ago? Looks like it's all unfolding now. Proud of you. Delaney. Chen had been my closest friend back in grad school. She was the first person to call out my habit of overfunctioning in toxic environments, the first to ask, why are you always trying to earn your seat when you already built the table? We'd reconnected by accident, an alumni networking event where she was the keynote speaker. At that time, she had just launched her second company. Me? I had just saved yet another client from walking away and got a half-hearted "thanks, Natalie" in return. That night, over bitter lattes, memes, and rainy sidewalks, Delaney looked at me and said something I never forgot. The way you systemize chaos, that's not just a skill, that's a business. I laughed it off. I always did. But her words took root. Within a week, I bought the domain, linkwisesolutions.com. Within a month, I had mocked up a services model, lean, modular, and high impact. 6 months in, I had my first retainer client, a startup struggling to scale without crumbling internally. I kept everything off-grid. I used nights, weekends, PTO days, never during company hours. I was building after hours, but the energy came alive in a way StratusCore never gave me. Why? Because it was mine. Because for once, no one was hovering, second-guessing, rerouting my direction to serve someone else's ego. Because every dollar I earned came from someone seeing my value and paying for it directly. Linkwise wasn't just a side project. It was an escape route disguised as ambition. It was my exit plan, born from repeated betrayals that no longer surprised me. I still remember the day I signed my second client, a mid-size marketing firm in Boston that had grown too fast and was choking on its own systems. I flew out on a weekend, spent 36 hours mapping out their operational breakdowns, and handed them a blueprint they ended up presenting to their board. They offered me triple to stay longer. I declined, because back then I was still clinging to StratusCore, still holding out hope that maybe, one day, someone like Miriam would actually see me. Turns out, they saw enough, just not the parts that mattered. So yes, by the time I submitted my resignation, Linkwise was already profitable. 3 clients, 2 ongoing retainers, 1 patent-pending optimization framework, and no one at StratusCore had a clue. Even my closest coworkers had no idea. They thought my silence meant stillness, but I wasn't still. I was sharpening, building, layer by layer, in the dark, under the radar, like all the best strategies begin. Delaney texted again that night. Let me know when you're ready to scale. I've got people who need what you do. And just like that, I realized I wasn't walking out empty-handed. I was walking towards something I had built, with intention, precision, and the kind of conviction they never expected from someone like me. 1 week into my resignation notice period, Monday felt quieter than usual. No fanfare, no hallway whispers, just a subtle shift in how people looked at me, like I was already halfway gone. And in a way, I was. But I didn't coast through those last 2 weeks. No long lunches, no passive-aggressive emails, no loud exit. Instead, I got to work, harder than ever. I started with my documentation framework. By Wednesday, I had created a fully indexed internal wiki, 214 process articles, 86 annotated workflows, 12 custom AI prompt templates, 9 plug-and-play dashboards, 1 predictive optimization model. No one knew existed. I named it Core Ops Legacy Build, and left no password unlisted, no process undocumented. It wasn't just a handover, it was a blueprint, one they never asked for, but would absolutely need. I wasn't bitter, I was precise. Every file I uploaded carried a silent message. You didn't see me, but you will feel my absence. At one point, Tessa walked by and peeked at my screen. Wow, she said. That looks intense. It's the entire infrastructure of our client delivery system, I said without looking up. It's how you'll keep things from collapsing. She blinked. Oh, right. Then walked away, like I had just shown her a spreadsheet in Sanskrit. Miriam didn't stop me either. She was too busy pretending things were business as usual. But I caught her glancing at my activity log more than once. I almost wanted to warn her, to tell her how fragile her floor actually was. But no, let it crack on its own. I wasn't doing this for them. I was doing this for myself. Because when I walked out, I wanted no one to say, she left us hanging. No, they couldn't say that. What they could say, eventually, was, she built this, and none of us even knew how. Every morning, I arrived at 8 sharp. Coffee, headphones, logged in, no chit-chat, no distractions. My to-do list was color-coded into 3 columns. What I touched, what I improved, what would break without me. By Friday, the shared drive looked like a vault. One intern asked if it was a new internal library project. I smiled. Something like that. What no one realized was, I had already started training Linkwise's systems team using the same frameworks. What I gave StratusCore for free, I would soon license, for a lot more. My final Friday, I uploaded the last file at 4:57 p.m. I wrote a 1-line message in the team Slack. Documentation complete, transition files uploaded. Let me know if you need anything by EOD Wednesday. Tessa reacted with a thumbs-up emoji. Miriam replied with, thanks for being thorough. That was it. No confetti, no good luck card. Just a system so complete that it made my silence deafening. That weekend, I didn't check email. I checked analytics. Linkwise had just closed its 4th client. We were now operating in 3 time zones, and on Monday, while StratusCore booted up without realizing they'd lost their foundation, I was already designing what would replace them. It was Wednesday, just 3 workdays left. I had just finished finalizing the last batch of QA documentation for the predictive model when my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. Normally, I let unknown calls go to voicemail, but something, intuition maybe, made me pick it up. Hi, is this Natalie Pierce? Yes. Who's this? This is Alec Whitman, CEO of Radian Systems. You probably haven't heard of us yet, but I've definitely heard of you. I froze for a second. The name was familiar, but only in passing, one of those tech names floating around in VC updates and Forbes features. Sorry, can I ask how you got my number? He chuckled. Let's just say Delaney Chen talks about you more than she realizes. And Ray Patel, she mentioned him? Ray Patel, a mutual VC contact. Delaney had introduced me to him months ago at a startup mixer. We'd had a 10-minute chat over sparkling water about workflow redundancies in creative agencies. Apparently, he'd remembered. Your optimization framework, the one you used with that Boston client, is brilliant, Alex said. Ray forwarded me the outline you showed him. I also got a glimpse of your AI prompt templates through a closed-door session with someone from your current company. My heart skipped. Wait, someone from StratusCore had shown my material? Nothing confidential, he added quickly. Just enough to know you're doing something 90% of the industry hasn't figured out yet. I didn't know what to say. I had spent the past 2 years believing no one saw me. Now, suddenly, someone not only saw me, they saw what I had created in its raw, overlooked brilliance. I know this is out of nowhere, Alec continued, but I don't want to wait for you to go back into another system that doesn't understand your value. What are you saying? He paused. I'm offering you a seat at the table, partner, systems, and strategic innovation. You build the frameworks, you lead your own team, and you own equity. Full autonomy, full visibility, no more working in the dark. I stared at my monitor, at the Slack notification from Tessa asking how to relabel a dashboard column. It was almost laughable. I don't have your resume, he said, but I don't need it. I have your systems. They speak louder. My throat tightened, not because of ego, not because of money, but because, for the first time in a very long time, someone spoke to me in my own language. No fluff, no flattery, just facts, recognition, and opportunity. I need to think, I managed to say. Of course, but let me be clear. This offer isn't going anywhere. I'll wait. He gave me his direct line, told me his CTO was already clearing runway to bring me in, then hung up with a casual, looking forward to building something real with you. I sat there for a full minute, phone still in hand, heart pacing. Then I opened a blank note and typed. They only saw what I built when someone else started bidding for it. I hit save, then closed Slack. That night I had dinner with Delaney. She smirked before I even finished telling her. Told you, you're more dangerous than you look. After dinner, I walked home slower than usual. For the first time, I wasn't just walking away. I was looking back, watching what they'd do without me. By Friday, something strange had started happening. I could feel it, not directly, but through the digital static of Slack messages, CC'd emails, and lingering silence in threads I used to lead. Even though I had technically 3 days left, I had already stepped back from most day-to-day tasks. Tessa had asked for space to lead. Miriam had agreed, so I gave them both what they wanted, and the system began to show its cracks. Client responses slowed. Files went missing. The dashboard I built, CoreOps, was being updated incorrectly, metrics misaligned by a decimal or more. But no one said anything, not yet, until Monday morning's team review. It was Tessa's first time leading the bi-weekly pulse check, a 20-minute sync where we'd review project health using a visual data dashboard I'd built 3 years ago. I watched the Zoom recording later that night, sent to me anonymously from someone on the team. Tessa smiled into the camera like she was hosting a podcast. All right, team, let's dive in. Looks like, client retention is at 92%? No. Wait, sorry, that's client response rate. She clicked around the dashboard, stalling. Okay, so green means good, obviously, and red is urgent, I think. I'll have to double-check. There was a moment of stillness, then a soft voice. Kara, one of the junior analysts, unmuted and said, Actually, the red indicators on that dashboard are projected trajectory deviations, not urgency flags. They're based on momentum loss, not crisis state, Tessa blinked. Oh, wow! You're totally right. Thanks, Kara. She laughed it off, tried to bounce back, but the air had shifted. You could feel it. The room had seen the first real crack. The dashboard I built was complex, yes, but intuitive for those who paid attention, which Tessa never had. She liked the idea of leadership. She liked the spotlight. But leadership isn't about looking comfortable. It's about knowing where the pressure points are before they break. That afternoon, Miriam called me. Twice. I didn't answer. She followed up with an email. Subject, quick clarification. Hi, Natalie. I know you're wrapping up this week, but could you hop on a quick call to walk us through the CoreOps dashboard again? Seems there's a bit of confusion on which fields drive the week-over-week deltas. Thanks so much in advance. I stared at the email for a while, then replied, Subject, Quick clarification. Hi, Miriam. As per our transition plan, Manjiinin, all documentation, including field logic and trigger pathways, is available in the legacy drive under System Logic Maps. Please let me know if there's anything missing from that archive. Best, Natalie Polite. Precise, no warmth. She didn't write back. Later that evening, Delaney texted me. They're spinning, aren't they? I didn't respond. Just sent her the thumbs up emoji. Tessa posted on LinkedIn the next day. Learning so much in this new chapter, growth always comes with a little mess, right? Comments were off. It was all happening exactly as I knew it would. Because when people don't understand the systems they inherit, they try to look confident. But systems don't care about appearances. They respond to substance, and mine had just left the building. It was supposed to be a routine pitch. At least, that's what the calendar invite said. Q4 Growth Expansion Strategy, Client Review, Davenport Group. StratusCore had worked with Davenport for over 3 years. They weren't just clients, they were cornerstone accounts, high stakes but predictable, until they weren't. I wasn't in the room, but I didn't have to be. By 11 o'clock a.m., my phone was already buzzing. Did you see what just happened on the Davenport call? OMG, Tessa used the old momentum index slide and butchered it. We're toast. I opened Slack. The internal Hatch client wins channel was oddly quiet. No gifs. No crushed it neat messages. Just radio silence. Something was wrong. Later that day, one of my former team members, Amina, now a project lead, forwarded me a screen-recorded clip with the subject line, "Thought you'd want to see this." I clicked play. Tessa stood at the front of the sleek, glass-walled conference room, smile wide, posture perfect. She wore a navy blazer I recognized. She'd once borrowed it from me for her first client review. Behind her, on the screen, was my Momentum Index slide, a model I had developed during my second year to track not just results, but velocity-adjusted engagement behavior over time. So, as you can see here, Tessa began, gesturing with a confident hand, we've maintained a strong 80% momentum in audience interaction across all segments. Blue is positive trend line, orange is, deviation, I think? She glanced down at her notes. From the back of the room, a man, Colin Drevens, Davenport's COO, leaned forward. Sorry, just to clarify, what exactly does momentum measure here? Is that based on net engagement change, or projected retention over rolling weeks? Tessa blinked. It's more like sentiment tracking, combined with campaign response velocity? There was a pause. Colin frowned. That's not what this index was designed for. We've seen this framework before. Natalie Pierce walked us through it last year. It measured predictive conversion churn, not sentiment. Tessa froze. Oh, right. Yes, that's correct. That's what I meant. The room went quiet. Davenport's head of marketing subtly closed her laptop. I paused the video. That was all I needed to see. Inside StratusCore, the fallout was immediate. An hour after the pitch, Slack was full of subtle tremors. A shared doc marked FYI, Davenport follow-up, urgent, appeared in 3 different channels. Someone posted a link to my old Momentum Framework PDF and had data tools with a simple caption, Legacy Doc, may be helpful. One junior account manager messaged Amina privately. Is she always like that? I thought she knew what she was talking about. Turnover jumped by 12% that quarter. Internally, no one said the word crisis, but they didn't have to. People felt it, they saw it, and some quietly started updating their LinkedIn profiles. Miriam? She said nothing. But I knew she knew. Because late that night, I saw her view the Legacy Drive folder I had built. 4 times, from different locations. I didn't gloat. I didn't message anyone. But I did make one small update to the Linkwise site. Momentum Index TM, now available in enterprise licensing. I thought my last day would feel like release, like finally exhaling after holding it in for years. But instead, there was this strange stillness. Not peace, just quiet, like the kind that comes before a storm you've already seen coming. My desk was cleared. My badge returned. My files were uploaded, neatly zipped and titled. Everything said I was done. But then came the message. Just one subject line. Let's talk, one last time. From Miriam Langford. I hesitated. Part of me wanted to delete it unread, but another part, the strategist, was curious. We met at a hotel cafe downtown. Neutral ground. Miriam arrived exactly on time, looking polished but frayed around the edges, like someone who had been professionally unraveling in silence. She skipped small talk. Natalie, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Things are spiraling, and we need you back. I said nothing, just watched her. Not full-time, not even permanent. I'm talking high-level consulting, strategy, systems, name your rate. She slid an envelope across the table. I didn't touch it. You built something we didn't fully understand. Now that it's slipping, we see what we had, and what we lost. She took a breath. I'm prepared to give you a blank check offer. Full autonomy. Name your terms. It sounded generous. It sounded desperate. It sounded 10 months too late. I looked her in the eye and spoke calmly. 3 conditions. She nodded slowly. 1, I said. I don't report to anyone. I define scope and pace. No questions. 2, Tessa is not involved, not copied, not briefed. This is surgical. I don't clean while someone else is still making the mess. Miriam blinked but didn't speak. And 3, public credit. A formal note, client-facing, that acknowledges the foundational systems I built. Not as support, not as legacy, but as architect. She shifted. That might raise questions. Then answer them, I said, without flinching. She fell silent, stirred her coffee like she was trying to change its mind. Finally, she looked up. That's a lot. No, Miriam, I replied. That's the minimum. The truth is, I wasn't angry. Not anymore. I had grieved this place long before I left. I had let go, pixel by pixel, system by system. This wasn't about payback. This was about value, mine. She didn't say yes. She didn't say no either. She just asked for time to think. So I stood up. While you think, I said, I'll be building. I left the envelope on the table, untouched. Outside, the city felt different. Not because it had changed, because I had. Later that night, Delaney called. So, did she grovel? I laughed. Not quite, but she blinked. And you? I didn't. After we hung up, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt clean, like a system finally cleared of bad data. No noise, no dangling code, just space, ready for something that ran smoother, smarter, mine. They didn't introduce me as former operations lead. They didn't say back-end genius or unsung hero. They said, please welcome Natalie Pierce, Chief Vision Architect at Linkwise, and one of the boldest systems thinkers redefining growth strategy today. And the room, the whole damn room, stood up. But I'm getting ahead of myself. 3 months had passed since I walked out of Stratuscore for the last time. Linkwise was now operating in 5 time zones. Our client waitlist had tripled. The optimization engine I built, once a quiet side project, was now core infrastructure for 3 of the fastest scaling tech startups on the West Coast. I had an office, a team, and a nameplate that read exactly what I was. Chief Vision Architect. Not manager, not associate director, not someone we'll keep in mind next cycle. And then came the resumes. Quiet pings on LinkedIn. Would love to catch up sometime. I've always admired how you led with structure and grace. I'm looking for something more real. Kara applied first, then Amina. Even Jonah, the guy who once called Tessa a breath of fresh air, sent a note that just said, I get it now. I didn't hire all of them, but I interviewed each one personally. And to those who'd stood by me when I was invisible, I gave them seats at a new table, one we built from scratch. The Forbes panel came in October. Women in Strategy, Building What Others Can't See. There were 5 of us on stage. I was the quietest. Until the moderator asked, Natalie, in your transition from corporate to visionary leadership, what was the moment you knew it was time to leave? I didn't need to think. It wasn't about walking away, I said. It was about walking toward the kind of place that knew what I carried. The moderator paused, then repeated it slowly, back into her mic. And the audience just stopped. Not clapping, not scribbling, just that rare electric kind of silence when people truly hear something. Afterward, backstage, someone handed me a program to sign. It felt surreal. I used to be the one who printed name tags. Now my name was in bold, next to words like keynote. I stepped behind the curtain. The lights were still warm on the other side. People were applauding. For me. Not because I fought harder, but because I finally stood where I was seen. I closed my eyes and smiled. This wasn't revenge. It wasn't even redemption. It was clarity. And this time, the systems I'd built weren't just working. They were working for me.